Okay, so first off, I want to give credit to the Great Creators, which is a podcast here on YouTube that someone sent me a couple of clips from. Because in a recent interview that Tyler Perry did, that was about an hour long, there was a segment regarding the various writers' rooms that he has active right now and some of the changes that have taken place. So, this was some very interesting information and I'm going to play the clips. I hope I don't get copyright. Well, hey, YouTube will let me know if anything's wrong. So yeah, um, I'll play the clips. You can hear them, and then we can come back and talk about them. I'm going to leave a link to the full podcast episode in the comment section below because, like I said, I want to make sure the great creators get the credit they deserve, and you can go check it out for yourself.
Have you been able to make the transition where you have people writing in a way that does capture your voice or your aesthetic more and more over the years?
No, and unfortunately, I've hired a bunch of writers now that are writing on. I think I have 11 shows on the air, and they're writing on 8 or 9 of them. And it's difficult for me to understand this or watch the shows because um, when I turned the shows over to them, there were 100+ episodes of all these series. So as a writer, the first thing I would think is I'm going to go watch every show so that I can follow the pattern of the way he writes and what he does and what works for the audience. So to turn the shows over to writers and they go in a totally different direction and they're way off base of what the show is, it's it can be really frustrating and disappointing. So now what I'm doing is actually going into the room and giving more guidance on how to stay within the guidelines rather than thinking that a writer will come in and automatically be able to pick up just by watching. So I'm hopeful that in the upcoming seasons that they are able to catch on to and see the pattern of what was written and how it was written.
You
Right.
have to let go,
Right.
and you just have to accept that some of those things won't be to your standards, but the audiences might still like them.
Yes, and I 100% agree. So that's why most of the shows now have writers' rooms on them. However, if the ratings take a dip, then we need to have a conversation because something's way off. So I allowed them to write the way they wanted to and see what happens. And I watched the show's ratings because I couldn't watch the show because I knew I wouldn't be happy. And I watched what worked and what didn't. And then we had a conversation about how we get this back on track.
Okay, so that was about 2 minutes, give or take, and that was a lot of information to take in. So it's interesting because Tyler Perry talked about how right now he has like 11 different shows running, and out of those 11 shows, 8 to 9 of them have writers' rooms because, it's gotten to the point where he's not able to juggle as much as he used to because there's, well, let's be real, bigger fish to fry. I think that his focus is more towards making films than the TV shows. And I'm trying to remember what shows. Okay, so let me count by memory what shows are on right now. Sistas, Zatima, The Oval, Ruthless, All the Queen's Men, that's 5. Young Dylan, I believe that show is still a thing. That's 6. What am I missing? What am I missing? House of Pain, Assisted Living, that's 8. Um, I don't think Beauty and Black counts because that's not a TV show. That's a streaming platform show. I might be missing something. I guess you could count it, I suppose. Bruh doesn't count because unless Bruh isn't technically canceled, I'll tentatively say Bruh, so that's 10. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think that's it. Unless there's another show I don't know about. Wait, isn't there that bus show like Route 60 something or Route 182? I don't know. I don't know. If I'm forgetting something, let me know in the comments. But regardless, the ones that I know don't have writers' rooms, as to my knowledge, wait, the Oval and and that's it. That's all I can think of. Folks, like I said, fill in the blanks for me if I miss anything. And the thing is that the host asked if these new writers capture the voice of the audience the same way Tyler does, and to an extent, no. So I guess that he got the writer's room probably, and this is just speculation, for two reasons. Number one, because of the fact that, and I think this is the main reason, he understands like, hey, I'm getting older. I really want to focus more on like my passion projects, and doing movies and, you know, different shows for streaming platforms is opening, you know, the door to like way more eyes on my content. And then the second reason, which I don't even think this was a main, a primary reason, is because the fans were demanding a writer's room. But I think that based off of what Tyler said in the past in regards to, you know, I had a writer's room, they weren't able to capture the voice of the audience like I was, and the ratings began to drop. And now the same thing's happening right now. But I'm conflicted. But regardless how I feel, I'll get back to my feelings later. I think that he thought that these writers would do their due diligence. Like, hey, if I'm a writer and someone puts me on a show and the show has like, you know, triple digit episodes, like 100+ episodes, I would watch all of the episodes or as much as I could so I can get an understanding of the characters. And he even said that he can't even watch a lot of the shows that, you know, he handed over to different writers because they aren't capturing his voice. And that was mind blowing. I'm like, damn. That's very telling. Wow. And the host is like, well, yeah, you know, I guess it gets to a point where, you know, like, when do you think it's time to kind of let go and just, you know, give those shows to other people and not feel worried? He's like, well, you know, I don't, but when the ratings take a turn, that's when it's time to reevaluate. Like, that's, even though I'm not writing the show, I'm in the writer's room. I'm in there trying to guide the show to get it back on track so these ratings could get back up. So he did say that in upcoming seasons, we should be good, which indicates to me that Sistas season 9, whenever that does get filmed, that's going to be a season that kind of harkens back to where Tyler was taking the show. I don't know for a fact if he did this method for season 8, but we can at least have some comfort with season 9. And it's a shame because House of Pain and Assisted Living, the ratings for this season are god awful. And I mean bad, like a bunch of 0.2s and everything. Way lower. But the thing is, those shows had different writers since their second seasons on BET, and they're in their 5th season for each show. But my argument was, because I can say this with some, you know, form of, I guess you could say, authority, due to the fact that, to my knowledge, I was the only person on the internet reviewing Assisted Living. I watched season 1. And it was hot garbage. It didn't get good until like the last couple episodes. But when those new writers, and same thing with House of Pain season 1 of the reboot, even though you had all the original cast back, well, CJ and Janine's family, Miranda, and then Curtis and Ella and Calvin and whatnot, that season the writing was awful. This was when Tyler had that work ethic video he posted like in January of 2020, I believe. And people were on him about not having writer's room because the scripts were trash. They were. But when the new writers took over for Assisted Living season 2, for the second season of the House of Pain reboot, as someone who watched all those pilot seasons and the new writers came in, it was a breath of fresh air. But the thing was, the ratings from season 2 onward were never as good as that first season, which is sad because part of me believes that fans were turned off from both shows because Tyler was the one who wasn't able to capture the voice of the audience or excuse me, translate his writing that would beat to the pulse of his audience. And that's why, despite the ratings, those seasons flopped because a lot of people gave up a few episodes in. Overuse of the laugh track, bad writing, just a lot of pausing. But then when the new writers came in, it felt like some kind of structure took place. And I think that, the sky's the limit. But now the ratings are just hot garbage. And, well, I just wonder if Tyler had a hand in writing, the new seasons of those shows, because we're currently, season 13 of House of Pain, and I feel like this is the best season of the reboot because it truly feels like the original. So I wonder if Tyler Perry was in the writer's room for this particular season. But even if he was, the ratings are still the worst ever, which is bad. Now, when it comes to Sistas, let me put it this way. If Tyler himself is unable to watch, I think this further explains why a majority of the cast has not been promoting the show like they used to. I think, to my knowledge, DeVal will post clips, like let's say if it's a sneak peek of Zach and Fatima, or KJ, whenever they have like the promotional photos of a new episode, she'll post them. I don't believe I see anyone else going out of their way to make posts on Instagram or social media in general. So, unless, they're one of like the B or C tier characters, but in terms of like the main cast, I rarely see them do it anymore. And they used to be on social media all the time. Like, even on Twitter, and this isn't just restricted to the cast members, but the ratings themselves, we all know how this season has been just a letdown. And Wednesday night used to be just a night like, hey, you rushed home, or you stopped what you were doing and you got on Twitter, and we tweet with the other fans, and of course the cast could jump in from time to time. But it's gotten to the point where even tweeting seems redundant because nobody's really active. Like, I remember when my tweets used to get a lot of traction. Well, now, once in a blue moon, I might have a tweet that reaches like 50 likes, if that. Because most of the people online are just trashing the show. And, man, this was eye-opening. This was truly eye-opening. So, I don't know what to do. I mean, all we can do is just sit back and wait. And like Tyler said, hope that the new season, I guess he was alluding to Sistas season 9. I don't know about the Oval. The Oval, to me, they could have had new writers and it would have been better. I think that maybe I don't want to say he was only talking about Sistas, but I think that when you look at all the shows and the quality and whatnot, Tyler has his hand and can feel the pulse of the audience, and that's how he says he got to the level of success he is now. And I can understand that. But I want to speak from the perspective of a non-billionaire. Someone who's been a fan since the beginning. I'm talking like since the plays and when he first started doing shows on TBS, leading into OWN and now to Viacom. So, and then, you look at what I've accomplished here on YouTube and, social media in general as being the Tyler Perry guy, if you will. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. It doesn't matter how good something is, because it really boils down to the bottom line. Does the time and money put into something yield results? It doesn't matter that Assisted Living, to me, is one of the better Tyler Perry shows of the Viacom era, season 2 onward, because these new writers have been doing a bang-up job with the writing. But the ratings don't reflect that. I think Assisted Living usually gets like less than a third. Like, an episode of Assisted Living gets less than a third in ratings of an episode of, let's say, Sistas. So obviously Sistas is going to get way more promotion than Assisted Living. And like that, when Tyler gave the show to new writers in this recent season, season 4, that was only like 10 episodes, Those 10 episodes were better than the previous three. The previous 3 seasons that Tyler wrote. So I think for me, when Tyler hands the shows to different writers, I see, and I'm not even talking about the numbers or the ratings, but even though that's really what matters at the end of the day, I think these new writers, in some respects, do a better job than Tyler does on these shows. Sistas, to me, is the only anachronism where it's like, what the freak? I applaud it, and I'm not trashing the new writers. Please don't think I'm trashing them. I applauded them because I felt like Tyra Banks. I rooted for you. Because I know that after that first episode, people were just done. But I remember putting out that tweet about, like, look, everybody's been asking for years / seasons for Tyler to get a writer's room. He finally did, and y'all are ready to trash the show and give up after one episode. At least give him time to cook, you know? Obviously, a bunch of people jumped ship after the mid-season finale, and after that, I couldn't defend it anymore. I'm like, you know what? No, I can't. The whole baby daddy thing and the Gary ultimatum, Andy just being a bigger idiot than usual. You ruin fan favorite characters. Believe it or not, obviously, the majority will say that Zach being the daddy of one of the twins was the final nail in the coffin for why they stopped watching the show. But a majority of the fans, a good chunk of the fans could also say that because of the way Zach and Fatima were written, that's one of the main reasons why they quit. Because it's like, since when is Fatima is everyone's punching bag? Since when is Zach this, absent-minded, and all the development that Tyler gave him in Sisters and Zatima was thrown out of the window? And all of a sudden, it's all about Zarin rather than Zatima. It's just like, imagine if, dang, it's like Michael Jackson looking down at his estate and seeing that they sold off a part of the Sony music catalog that he bought back in the 80s, and he's shaking his head because they ruined what he established. I feel like that's Tyler right now looking over at the ratings of Sisters and what the people are saying online, and the fact that Zatima was his baby. He saw what Crystal and DeVal had on screen, and the work they put in made them blow up, and by extension made Sisters blow up further, leading to their own spinoff. But these new writers took these 2 star characters, the main draw people gave a damn about watching Sisters in the first place, and fucked it up. So now he had to course correct because he's like, no, it's like y'all driving into the ground. I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Obviously, my numbers are way different than TV or streaming numbers. But if let's say I decided to take let's just say, you know what? Look, I've been doing this YouTube thing since 2017, nonstop. It's been my job. I need to take a vacation. Yes, I've never taken a vacation before. So I'm going to step away from the channel from January through March of 2025. I'm going to take a 3-month break. I'm going to hand the keys over to someone else. They'll keep up. They'll do the reviews. They might not pump out as much content. Well, actually, let's say they do, because Tyler put that, burden on the current team. Like, hey, y'all, I'm handing you the keys to the show, but the thing is, you're going to have to do as much content as I would. So let's say this person I hand the keys over, or let's say I get 3 people. Yeah, I hire like 3 people, Okay, your job is to watch Sisters. Your job is to watch The Oval. Your job is to watch, House of Pain, whatever the case may be. And I'm off the grid for 3 months. Maybe every now and then I'll check to see my analytics. Okay, is the ad revenue the same? Are my subscribers going up? What are the views like on my videos? But then I see these videos are not doing good at all. And I'm looking at some of the comments. I can't bear to look at it. I just stopped watching altogether. So then I had to come off my vacation, like in the middle of February. It's like, okay, what's going on here? And then I had to, talk to these people to kind of get them back on track so I can go back and enjoy myself. I can understand that because I built this channel from the ground up. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now, and I wouldn't be at this near 300,000 subscriber mark without the fan base. You know? So I wouldn't want anything to jeopardize that, because I decided to either take a vacation or direct my attention somewhere else. And man, so the gist of it is, Tyler knows that most of these shows suck, but I think that only a couple of them are worse off quality wise than when he was writing the shows. It's just that the ratings have taken such a noticeable dip that he has to go in and like, okay, we got to get this thing back on track. Now, is it fair? Well, look, I don't know the timetable of events. Like, I don't know when Tyler handpicks certain people to write on these shows, because some of these people are already writing on different shows and working on other projects. So I don't know if it was like on a Wednesday they're writing a script, and then it's like Thursday afternoon it's like, hey, this is Tyler Perry, you want to come write on my show? And then they had to like drop everything and, you know, go over there, because let's keep in mind here, I'm just one person, and I do all these reviews week to week. I wonder how much time Tyler gave these. I know somebody told me that they asked one of the writers, how realistic is it for someone to binge over 120 something episodes of a series to understand the characters? Because I think that most of us can agree that it almost seems like these writers probably skimmed through like season 1 and then that was it. Or, you know, they went online and looked at videos by people like myself or other YouTubers to get an idea of what's going on. But I think if they did that, they should have known that, hey, these characters aren't exactly who we think they are based off the season 1. Some of them have changed, because that's why season 7 and 8 just feel so off compared to the first 6 seasons. So I guess, remember, before we even went into season 6, we knew that there were new writers. I said, folks, all we got to do is make it through season 6 and we'll get to the promised land. And instead of milk and honey, it was, you know, bitter lemonade and sour mayo. I guess now, to some extent, we could look at season 9 as the new promised land. It's like, we just got to make it through the remainder of season 8. And whenever they do season 9, we should be back to where we wanted the series to be. But then again, let's be real here. People are crying for Tyler Perry now, but my big question is this. When we get to season 9, will people still be bitching? Yes, I know they will. I know they will. Because you can't please everyone. And I think that as bad as people want Tyler back right now, you got to ask yourself, weren't you one of the first people, or one of the people who was always complaining for him to get a writer's room? So my question is, even though things might be changing back to the quote-unquote status quo in season 9, does that necessarily mean the show is going to be better? It might get ratings back up, but will the quality of the show be better? And I think at some point down the line, I'm going to have to do a video of like, once we're a couple more seasons down the road, comparing, you know, the Tyler era, seasons 1 through 6, the Writers Room era, seasons 7 and 8, and then from there, the Writers Room era with Tyler Perry in the room too, because that's going to be pretty interesting. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.